Everyone, good morning and welcome to another Open First Data Science Community Meetup. Today we have Michael Clifford from the ET Data Science team. He's gonna talk a little about the transition of this Operate First Data Science community. And over to you, Michael.
Cool. Thank you. Let me go ahead and share my screen here. Whoops. All right. Hopefully everyone is just seeing a big, bright red screen. Is that right?
Yes.
All right, cool. Okay, well, welcome everyone to another Operate First Data Science Community Meetup. Today I want to share some thoughts with all of you about like the future of this community. But I think it's some pretty exciting updates. But before that, my name is Michael Clifford. I'm a data scientist here at Red Hat in the office of the CTO, as well as a member of the Operate First community. So today I'm going to be talking about like a potential upcoming change to the data science community within Operate First, and specifically a plan for us to become an official special interest group. So I'll talk a little bit about what that exactly means. But in short, like this meetup has been a good place as like a venue for us to share and present some of these like loosely affiliated data science projects that have been ongoing in Operate First. But by becoming a SIG, it will help us to like better consolidate all of these projects and provide additional support and methods for collaboration for all of the like existing and any new data science initiatives in Operate First that we're gonna get going. So I'll do a quick like recap of the goals and purposes of this particular meetup and how they've kind of evolved, or maybe more specifically how they haven't really evolved. They've stayed the same as we continue to grow into a SIG. The last thing I'll do today is like go over the draft charter for the data science SIG and like the purpose, and give everyone an opportunity here to like comment, ask questions, provide feedback, and just generally get involved with the like SIG creation process. So again, today's really more like a process community style discussion and not so much a technical one. But I hope this will like lay the groundwork for some more fun, interesting data science collaborations and technical talks in the future. Cool. So let's get started, right? So the first things first, we are developing a charter, a proposal charter to become an additional special interest group within, or a SIG within the Operate First community. So if everything goes well, we will be joining the existing SIGs of community, operations, and telemetry. But you might be asking yourself, right, like what even is a SIG? What are you talking about? So like the name suggests, right, it's a formalized group within an open source community that gives special attention, right, or special interest to a specific part of that community. So in our specific case, right, our interest is in data science. It also provides us an avenue for the creation of sub-projects and working groups within the Operate First that our SIG can like has a say in deciding and participating in. So for us, this basically means that there will be a more direct and like efficient way of sharing, collaborating, and contributing to all the existing data science work that's ongoing in Operate First. However, in an immediate practical sense, that means that we need to get a SIG charter approved by the Operate First leadership. And then we can start to have meetings like in addition to or separate from this one, where we'll actually discuss more in detail some of like the ongoing projects and working groups that are ongoing. So again, today is just really about reminding everyone here or letting new people know about what this community and what this meetup is about, sharing this draft charter, and then getting all of your feedback and hopefully contributions to the new SIG. Great. So now that kind of preamble is out of the way, I'd like to once again just kind of level set everyone. and share what I see as the purposes and the goals of the Operate First data science community as we continue to grow into this special interest group. So Operate First is a large project that goes far beyond strictly like data science related topics. And a full overview is a little outside the scope of today's talk. But today I'm going to focus on outlining just enough of the project to make sense of the Operate First data science community and the upcoming SIG. So my hope is that in the next like 10 minutes or so, the relationship between Operate First at large and the role of data science will become really clear. So again, really nothing has changed, right? So our goals remain the same to educate and collaborate with anyone who's interested in learning more about how people are working towards democratizing the development of production level AI, and specifically with regard to cloud native development. Really what that means is about collectively investigating the question, how do we make cloud native data science development more open, more accessible, and more reliable? And my hope is that we can do this together as a special interest group through addressing the kind of multidisciplinary nature of the current state of AI development and cloud operations. So working on projects that are relevant to data scientists, to software engineers, DevOps professionals, and the intersection of all their work. And again, to do this all in a completely open and public way, like we've been doing so far. Cool. So I hope that was clear. Next, I'll quickly just provide an overview of the Operate First project overall to hopefully put some more context around how and why data science is important here. So in short, right, Operate First as a whole is both an idea and a project. So it's a way of approaching cloud operations and software development, but it's also a group of people and real machines that are implementing this approach. So this is a definition from the Operate First from its core creators. I'm not going to read it here, but you can read along as I continue. But in short, it's about addressing an existing gap in the software development lifecycle, where the actual like operating of an application is not sufficiently proved out by the developers, and the knowledge of how to operate these applications, like the operational experience, does not really exist in any traditional open source format. So by providing an open production community cloud where we operate our software first, right, like Operate First, we are able to extend the open source software development process to include operating in the cloud. So again, this is just like a bit of talk maybe around an updated philosophy around software development. And you might be asking yourself, like, is any of this stuff real? Where is this community cloud? I hope by now most of the people on this call know the answer to this. But if not, the answer is yes, it is all very real. So we currently have an existing community hybrid cloud with clusters in the United States, associated with Boston University and the Massachusetts Open Cloud. We have some in Germany, as well as an AWS cluster, and we're working on continuing to extend this community cloud. And again, all of this is managed openly through our Operate First organization on GitHub. So what is it that we do with these clusters? We run Kubernetes and OpenShift on them. We use GitOps best practices in public repos to manage everything. We generate operational data that we can make public as well, which I'll discuss a little bit later. And finally, we run like workloads or applications on top of everything. And right now, one of the main workloads that we are currently operating first is the Open Data Hub, or ODH. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. So cool. So this is just quickly to let you know that this community cloud currently exists. We're running workloads on it today, and you or anyone who's interested can get access to it right now. Cool. So let's talk about this specific workload, Open Data Hub. What is Open Data Hub, right? So the Open Data Hub is a project aimed at integrating a number of open source tools to provide an end-to-end machine learning development platform on top of OpenShift. And again, Data Hub is itself a huge project. If you're interested in getting more involved, I encourage you to take a look at opendatahub.io. But if you want to start using some of the tools of Open Data Hub today for your own data science projects, you can do so on the Operate First clusters that we have available. So when we say we're running Data Hub, right, it really means we're running like a set of integrated open source services for cloud native data science development. Cool. So now hopefully I've quickly put some context around how Operate First, like what Operate First is and what is currently being operated there. And I hope everyone here maybe knows this already, but if you don't, you're starting to see how data science is really relevant to this community. Specifically, one of the main tools that we are operating is one designed specifically for data scientists. But again, just beyond being users, one of the main goals for this SIG is to actually leverage the Operate First infrastructure to develop and incubate our own cloud native AI ML applications, and to identify solid patterns and best practices for how we can develop, monitor, manage, and like really ultimately productionize these kinds of applications in the cloud. So now I just want to give you all a few examples, right, of the kinds of projects that we've got going since we kind of started this community a while ago, and some of the projects that are currently ongoing as part of the Operate First data science community. And these are also the types of these are the projects that would be like directly benefited by having a SIG. So we have things like AI for CI, where we're building predictive analytics tools for monitoring CI platforms. There's Project Thoth, that's in the realm of like DevSecOps and providing additional tools to make data science development easier with OpenShift. There's OS Climate, which is a project focused around making diverse sets of environmental data readily available for public analysis. There's a project called AI for Cloud Ops, which is a project out of Boston University looking at developing AI-based tools for managing cloud operations. There's something called Project Meteor, which is a tool that can it's used to build working Jupyter Hub environments just from GitHub's repo URL. It's a project called ML at the Edge, which is a demo that the Office of the CTO at Red Hat worked on around self-driving cars, and so on. So these are just a few of the projects. There's obviously some other ones going on as well. And we're always really interested in looking to onboard more of these types of data science projects. But the main point I wanted to make here is just one, to kind of share like what's been going on in the last few months since we started this, and then two, to kind of show the variety of projects that are being worked on in Operate First. So cool. So, and then also beyond just being users of Operate First, like there's another very, very significant way that we can contribute back to the platform. And that's really through the application of AI Ops. So I'm not going to give a full discussion of AI Ops here, but in short, the idea is that we can basically improve IT operations through the application of AI tools. Unfortunately, really, like right now, AI Ops currently suffers from a data problem. So in order to do AI, we need data. However, the data being generated that would be like most useful for AI Ops is largely internal cluster data and not something that many companies feel comfortable open sourcing or making public. So that means that there's no like MNIST of AI Ops, basically. There's no real trusted benchmark data set that can be used to reliably push the field forward. So one of the additional goals of this SIG is to generate and collect this kind of data. And so this is actually done by us in many ways just by using the platform. So in addition, as data scientists, we are also like generating not just baseline web app operations data, but like machine learning operations data. So this can actually help us with like AI ops solutions that can specifically target machine learning workloads. So with this data, right, we can now start to work on developing open source applications that actually target the operations of clusters that run our very own machine learning workloads. And that feeds back into the operations of the platform itself, right? So since we're closely integrated with the platform operators, we're all part of the Operate First community, we can get our solutions implemented and tested much more easily. And this can create a beneficial feedback loop that can kind of improve both our applications and the platform itself. Cool. So I hope that makes it kind of clear that the Operate First data science community and the SIG is really both about using the platform for developing and incubating data agnostic projects and exploring new cloud native data science tools, as much as it's also about improving the very same platform through the exploration of AI ops. Great. So hopefully now I've given everyone like a good reminder about what this community's original goals are. I'm giving an update on some of the projects. Let me go ahead and share the draft charter for the upcoming data science SIG. So if you all go to this URL here, you can follow along if you'd like. And ideally, we can have this conversation in full on GitHub through like issues and PRs. And again, this is going to be hopefully not, but maybe a little boring. Hopefully I can keep it interesting for you all here. But the goal of writing a charter for this is to put some kind of guardrails and some more formal processes in place to make the operations of the community more transparent. And one of the ways we can do this, again, is by relying on the SIG model. So another major project that uses SIGs to manage the disparate parts of their community is Kubernetes. So if you go to the Kubernetes community repo, you'll see that everything is divided into like SIGs, working groups, sub-projects. And so in an attempt to keep ourselves organized as well, while our community grows, we're doing the same thing in Operate First. And the first thing that we need to do as a community is write this charter. And again, it's basically a document that outlines what this group is going to do, why we're going to do it, excuse me, what our responsibilities are, and like who's going to be a part of it. So again, this charter is something that we need to get approved by the community leads. There's already like good momentum and desire for such a SIG to exist. But I wanted to present it here to the community, mainly to get like community buy-in, but more importantly, to get all of your feedback. So like I wrote this myself based on my own thoughts and opinions around what the SIG should do, but that's not necessarily like proper open source way. So I wanted to make sure we had an opportunity to get everyone involved. Cool. So start to go through some of the details here. So first thing is we need to define like the overall scope of the data science SIG. What are we trying to achieve? What are our like guiding principles? I really think that it comes down to these three broad goals. Use Operate First as the go-to platform for incubating open source cloud native data science projects and defining best practices for developing such projects. Leveraging the public and openly available operations data generated by the Operate First platform to evaluate and develop AIOps tools to support both the operations and the operators of the platform. And then serve as ambassadors to the wider open source community through outreach initiatives and provide support for onboarding new open source data science projects on the Operate First platform. Cool. So I think if I've done my job correctly, what I've been talking about for the last 10, 15 minutes here, hopefully should be reflected in these three main goals. So again, this is where community engagement comes in. If you think that these goals don't really ring true to what I've been talking about, or I'm missing something critical here, then please let me know. This should be like a little bit of a collaborative exercise. I'm happy to take questions now. I know we're running a little bit short on time here. It might be easier to just go through all of this, and we can take a full slew of questions at the end. Does that sound good? Is any immediate questions now anyone has? All right, cool. I'm gonna keep going and we can do questions at the end. Cool, so that was like the overall mission of the SIG, but we still need to be a little bit more specific about the items that we will consider to be like in scope. And there's two kinds of things that you have to put on a charter about your scope. Artifacts like code, binaries, and services, as well as these like cross-functional and external facing processes. So we'll consider to be like in scope for this SIG, things like develop and incubate new AI applications and services, leverage the data produced by the Operate First community cluster to provide AI ops tools and analyses to the community, curate and maintain data sets generated by the Operate First platform, experiment and evaluate with cloud-native data science development tools and methods, and then publish and promote videos, blogs, talks, and tutorials on the tools, projects, and best practices developed by our community sub-projects. And there's also instances in which we're going to be working with external people outside of our SIG. That can be outside of Operate First completely or another SIG. So we want to have some kind of guiding principles around how those interactions occur. So that would be things like provide guidance to external groups with onboarding and development of data science work on any of the Operate First managed clusters. So that's something like kind of what we did with OS Climate, where they had started some development on their machine learning application, but it wasn't exactly ready for running on OpenShift or Operate First. So we helped them out with that. We also want to like foster two-way relationship between Operate First and the wider open source data science community. And then finally, work with other Operate First SIGs to ensure data collection and reporting is ongoing. So essentially anything that has to do with like internal SIGs, Operate First management of metrics or data collection is something that we would be responsible for as well. And then last but not least, right, we want to also make clear what is like clearly out of scope for this group. And again, this is just to help keep the community organized and to put some guardrails around the type of work that we will, that we're like expected to do and that what we're not expected to do, like we'll consider under the purview of this SIG. So that's three things at the moment, like not responsible for installation and availability of data science services maintained by the Operate First community cloud, not responsible for any code, notebooks, or projects outside of the Operate First community and without an associated sub-project or working group, and not responsible for any requests for support on any non-open source data or code. The last one probably seems very obvious for code, but sometimes when you're working with groups, that can be more questionable that what the openness of the data. So this is just to remind everyone that everything that we do as part of this community is like completely open in every possible way. Cool. So that's it, right? That's the charter. I hope it wasn't too boring for y'all to sit through. I'm going to hope again that what is mentioned here is like comes through and is aligned with what I was talking about for the first half of the presentation, and that it's aligned with our original goals and what we've been doing in this community. So cool. So what is next? We need to get this charter finalized and approved by the wider Operate First community, and then we can start to operate this DS community as a proper SIG. So, like, who is the SIG? Who are the members? Well, really, it's all of you, right? If you're attending this talk or you're interested in data science in any way as it pertains to Operate First, then that makes you a member of this SIG. We are currently looking for some additional participants, like folks outside of the immediate emerging tech group at Red Hat, like myself and Ankansha, who've been running this meetup. but specifically looking for a few people that would like to participate in leading the SIG. So if that's something that you're interested in, please reach out to me at my email or on Slack, and we can get into more details about how that would work. And then finally, beyond just updating the charter, we'll start to have regular SIG meetings in addition to this meetup. So this meetup will continue as is. And the SIG meeting you'll all be invited to, and that will be a place where we can discuss new and ongoing sub-projects and working groups like I've mentioned above. So yeah, so I'm really looking forward to this upcoming evolution. I hope that you're all excited as well and interested in getting involved with the SIG. Yep. So cool. Thanks so much. I know we only have like about a minute left here, but I'm happy to stay on longer to take any questions. Stan Green, yes, I'll post the link to this presentation. It should exist in our GitHub repo soon. Cool. So no questions. Again, I really. Somebody say something. I'd really appreciate feedback from anyone on this. Again, if you go to the repo and just make a PR or an issue, it's being actively worked on and reviewed. So any feedback would be taken very seriously and much appreciated.
Thank you for this awesome and informative presentation, Michael. If anyone has questions, this is a great time to ask, and you can also raise issues on this repository that I've just added the link for. You could also connect offline with our team. If there are no further questions, I will give you your time back and see you in next 2 weeks.
Cool.
Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day. Thank you, Michael, for presenting today. Thank you, everyone.